Oh, yeah. Hey, guys, I just discovered, I was going through all my manuals and I discovered a training that I developed a long time ago on the Course in Miracles. And it's a whole experiential training on how to look through the eyes of the Holy Spirit and perceptual positioning and try to figure out what's going on in the other person and see the Christ in them. And I came across, I thought, oh, wow, I actually did a training on the Course in Miracles a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
Is
Wow.
that just a written manual, or have you got recordings of it, or?
I don't have recordings of it, but I do have the manual. Yeah.
Hmm. Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're up to the number 2. That's a big one. Who wants to read that?
I'll start. I've
Anyway.
said that you cannot change your mind by changing your behavior. But I've also said, and many times, that you can change your mind. When your mood tells you that you have chosen wrongly, and this is so whenever you are not joyous, then know this need not be. In every case, you have thought wrongly about some brother God created, and are perceiving images your ego makes in a darkened glass. Think honestly what you have thought that God would have you thought, and what you have not thought that God would have you think. Search sincerely for what you have done and left undone accordingly, and then change your mind to think with God's. This may seem hard to do, but it is much easier than trying to think against it. Your mind is one with God's. Denying this and thinking otherwise has held your ego together, but has literally split your mind. As a loving brother, I'm deeply concerned with your mind and urge you to follow my example as you look at yourself and at your brother and see both in the glorious creations of a glorious Father. It's beautiful.
Mm.
I actually had an experience of this yesterday and today. Can I share?
Yeah.
So I was, a client got referred to me, and when I did my first session with her, I did not know anything about her, and she was very, what's the word? She was very amped out on Adderall. And then she would take a drug called G to bring herself down. Like she'd stay amped out on Adderall for quite a while, and then take another drug called G to have her crash and rest and stuff. And so I attempted to do a first session with her, and literally she would be getting up in the middle of me talking to her, and she'd be like, "Here, I want to show you my house," and she'd take me outside and show me on her iPad, and I'm like, wow. um like not real grounded, like not grounded at all. So I do another session, we have a bit of a breakthrough, which was great. Then I get an email or text message, and she says, I didn't get much value out of the first session. I think that I would like not a refund, but I would like you to not charge me for the next session because I didn't get value from the first one, and I work really hard for my money. And I was like, wow. Like, I was like, when I first read it, I was what's the word? I was angry and really, really insulted. And I got mad, not like I'm gonna say anything, but inside I was angry. And I went to sleep that night, and I didn't sleep well. I just kept masticating on it like a pit bull on a bone. And then I finally got off of it. And so today I decided I would do this. I would step into her. I would align myself to what I know is my job, to create healing, whoever comes into my sphere. And I wrote her a long email telling her why I'm not going to give her any refund or any credit or anything like that. And then I said, let's create a conversation over the phone so we can be on the same page. So I know where you're at, and you know exactly where I'm at. So we got on the phone and we actually talked it all through, which was very curious. I made a point like, I'm showing up to help you heal, and I'm showing up in order to give you the best advice to move forward, which may not be working with me right now. And the premise was that I was very tempted to like just never respond to her text messages again, never respond to an email. But I chose to jump into it and really attempt to see it through her eyes instead of just strictly through mine, and have a conversation so that there's no misconceptions, no misunderstandings, and I understand her perspective way better than I did before through the conversation. It was very tempting to go the dark road, and it felt very good to clean it up, which I did this afternoon. And I'll say that what that did for me was elevated my sense of self and gave me a sense of alignment that I didn't have following the other road. And what I learned from that is our bodies always know when we're doing not the exactly right thing. Like we'll feel weighted down, we'll feel not mixed up, but we'll feel agitated in the mind. But when we do the right thing, we start to feel right at peace, which is what happened. And I sat back and looked at that and I went, wow, like my body keeps the score. And I know that if I step up and do something that is not of my ego, but of my heart, gain clarification, have the conversations, and get to mutual understanding, I get congruent with myself. Regardless of anything else, I get congruent with myself. And it felt like perfectly fine. So I highly recommend if you guys have stuff going on with anyone, clean it up and find out where they're at and why they're acting the way they act and why they believe what they believe and why they see you the way they see you, which may be a total projection on their part, but you may have contributed to it as well. And I think that is all I have to say. But I do think that we get to see the glorious creation of the Father in all things, even that.
Question on that. How can you clean it up if the other refuses to speak to you and sends sisters to harass you?
That is an interesting question. And the way that I would normally respond to something like that is when the sisters show up at your door, you simply say, I'll speak to her, but you're the wrong person to speak to. I'm not going to go through an intermediate. If she wants resolution, she gets to come have a cup of tea and we'll have a conversation.
Tried that. I got blocked.
Yeah, no doubt. Is this your ex-wife? Or ex-girlfriend or
my most recent ex-partner?
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's a bill not being paid that was promised to be paid and never to be late, and now I'm being harassed by the company to pay the bill, and I'm trying to contact her. I'm paying the bill, finding out my whole reason for reaching out was, is everything okay? Are you struggling this month? What's going on? I wasn't harassing, I wasn't hollering. I just was reaching out to find out where this person was and what was going on, so I could tell the company, hey, this is what's going on. Give them a month, they will be back in alignment. And the sister decided to interpret her own opinions, and after several messages of me saying, please tell her to contact me so we can discuss this, I ended up getting triggered and speaking my truth to the sister, and the sister didn't like that, and she did what she was doing to me, I did to her, just that taste of your own medicine thing, and then she didn't like that and I got blocked.
Yeah, that's why when you look through the eyes of the Holy Spirit. And I know it's really hard, Joe, because I know there's still some unhealed stuff around it, and triggering does happen when the emotions rise. It's really, really difficult. But I would say, the learning from it is that responding in kind never evolves you. It doesn't resolve the situation. It generally makes it worse. So it's always best to, especially to say, I'll only speak to, we'll call her X, I'll only speak to X. And so please have her call me. And don't go through an intermediate. Don't let anybody else be the intermediate, because it's hard enough to communicate with one other person and get the meaning of your communication across through the filtering. But to communicate to a person who's already prejudiced and then have them communicate what you said to the other person who's equally prejudiced, it's going to end up being just a shadow of what you said or your truth.
Essentially, I didn't want to deal with the middleman, and that's what my point was I don't want to deal with a middleman. Please have her contact me. I got about 3 different excuses on why she couldn't. Then all of a sudden I'm told she no longer has an active cell phone. And it's like, well, she can still email me, but yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
You may get stiffed with that bill. You may.
Oh, I already have. I know I have. I don't want to put that projection out there, but when the person has already been proven to not be integral and broke every promise they've made thus far, I already know it. And I now have to find a way to come up with about $3,000 to get this done and out of my name, because I'm tired of this energy. I'm tired of this in my head. It needs to be over. So however I can do it, I got to figure it out and be done with it, because
this is what I would suggest, Joe, to you, because the only way to frame these things when these kind of things happen that seem so globally unfair is that in the great scheme of the karmic cycle of birth and death and, action, reaction, somewhere along the line, if you do end up absorbing this, then it is probably your debt to pay, and pay her back for whatever thing happened 400 lifetimes ago that's now showing up as a reaction to whatever that was. Know that if it exists, it's God's will. If it is happening, it's God's will. And there's no mistakes here. But our ego is like squirming like a dugite underneath a tire wheel. I mean, so it's true that it feels globally unfair to our ego, but in the great scheme of things, it has to be absolute fair. Seems like it's not to the ego.
I'm at a place where I was fine with it. I kind of expected it from the get-go. It's my fault, because when I demanded them back, she gave me the puppy eyes and made the promises, and I let it happen, and that's my fault. I should have kept them and turned them in and been done with it then. But knowing how much they benefited her, I trusted her, and I know I should not have, and that's on me. So I in a sense know that I'm gonna have to pay it off, and I'm seeking methods into doing so, because I've already lost full trust for the person. I honestly have no respect for the person anymore either. So I'm already anticipating on figuring out how to make this happen. Am I mad? A little bit, not horrible. I'm not as mad as I could be. I'm more or less upset with myself for not following my intuition and keeping them so I could turn them in and be done with it 8 months ago, something like that. So it's life. It happens. I'll figure it out. It's just one of those things in my journey that's just meant to teach me a lesson. So like I said, it's an experience. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just an experience. So move forward with it.
Hold on to that and chalk it up to karma and move forward, knowing that once it's done, you're finished.
Exactly. That's what I'm focusing on, is being done and being finished, and finally putting this past in the past fully, so I can move forward to better things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Joe, too, it's doubly hard for you because you know that this person knows better. than to behave like this. You know, it's one thing when a person is just out to lunch and ignorant and they really don't get it. But you know that this person does get it and knows better. So it's like, ah.
Yeah,
So
and I'm doing some of the methods that Gary taught and you know, towards my son's mother, where I'm just sending love. I have no ill will. I
right,
wish for her to
right.
succeed and be a success in life. But yeah,
Yes,
like I said, the
exactly.
person does know better, and it just shows how wounded that inner child is, and how once she recognizes that broken inner child, she can work towards healing that, and
Right.
ultimately become a better, you know, healer herself from realizing it. I no longer have a part in helping her see where that brokenness is and helping her work through it. So it's just send that love and just know that it's all happening for a reason.
Right. Everybody's higher good. It just doesn't feel like it right now. Yeah.
There's this great
Yeah.
quote from Course in Miracles that says, all things past, present, and to come is gently planned by one who unconditionally loves us. That
Mm,
means everything.
mm,
Beautiful.
very appropriate.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about this paragraph? I thought it was pretty clear. But
No, it is clear. Beautiful.
And I feel like I'm getting better all the time and recognizing how my body's feeling about situations. Just yesterday, I have a client who now I'm asking for clients to pay up front. They pay before I get the work done. But now I also have to make them actually give me information and pay, because this lady paid me and I've been chasing up, can you please give me your tax information so I can actually start the work you've paid for? And she doesn't register all the emails that I've sent her. And I've just rang her up yesterday and I said, this isn't working. I'll refund your money, and you good luck trying to find another accountant who can help you, because this isn't working. And it felt like the right thing to do. And there was no animosity. There was nothing about it. It was, have your money back and on your merry way, and best of luck.
it's always the right thing to do, to tell the truth and make sure that you're doing it out of regard, the highest regard for the client. Like you really want them to have the right thing done and to be able to take those actions to get to the best place that they can be. And
Yeah.
sometimes that includes you and sometimes it does not.
And I mean, this client, she's in Port Lincoln, which is South Australia. So it's a long way away. So we don't actually meet. We only have had a couple of Zoom calls. So I said to her, you need to find someone local who can help you, who, you know, will be there physically for you, because this doesn't seem to be the situation for you.
Yeah. Good for you.
There's only so much you can help people.
That's it.
Sure.
And if it's not the right fit, you just got to let them go.
Wish everybody well, right? Next paragraph.
Yep.
Oh, some nice short ones coming up here. Who wants to read the number 3?
I can jump in.
Jackie.
When you are sad, know this need not be. Depression comes from a sense of being deprived of something you want and do not have. Remember that you are deprived of nothing except by your own decisions, and then decide otherwise. Yeah, I agree.
Wow. Amen. Everything is a choice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Pretty straightforward. Shall we move on?
Please.
I'll read number 4. When you are anxious, realize that anxiety comes from the capriciousness of the ego, and know this need not be. You can be as vigilant against the ego's dictates as for them. as for them. You can be as vigilant against the ego's dictates as for them.
What does capriciousness mean?
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll find out. Hey,
One
Siri.
moment.
What capricious is sort of like devil may care. You know, I do what I want, when I want, whatever I want. That's being capricious. You know, light and airy.
Mean-minded and stupid. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-minded person? Classification of demons, capriciousness. Beelzebub, supreme chief of some sort of bad group of demons, I guess. But yeah, capriciousness. Interesting. Huh.
I've got the quality of changing mood or behavior suddenly and unexpectedly.
Mm.
Well, we got everything from changing moods to packs of demons out of that. All righty then. Love the English language. Multiple demons.
I may have spelt it wrong, maybe. I don't know.
It makes sense though. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you know, have you ever been to the, and heard of the island of Capri?
Yes.
I have actually.
Okay, right. Well, Capri is a place where you go to do whatever you damn well please. And isn't that what the ego does?
Right.
You know, like with the wind, you know, I do this, I do that. You know, it's like, oh, it's nice being you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm. Who wants to read number 5? Oh, go, Caroline.
Just such a little thing, just this sort of one-liner about anxiety, which is such a big thing. I find like with young people at the moment, sort of people around the age of 20, bit younger, bit older, but that anxiety is is really common, and it seems like it's much bigger than a couple of sentences.
It is. I mean, when you really think about it, that we are all intrinsically connected in one consciousness. And human beings around the world know that when one part of our collective is injured or is suffering or fears suffering, when there's violence around the world, every single one of us feels it. We carry the burden of it. And we can't be dissociated from it. And I do think that people have been on the planet for less time than we have. They've never experienced this amorphic resonance that happens when our brotherhood is suffering, when one arm of our brotherhood is suffering across the planet. They've never felt it. They don't know what it is. They don't know why they feel uneasy. Because I've been through the Vietnam War, I've been through lots of different tragedies and the AIDS crisis and all those things. And I could be quite jaded by now, but I'm not. But I will say that my body does not get as devastated by the suffering, because I know the suffering will end. Like I know it will end. I know it's a cycle that's being cycled through, because I've seen it end. The young people now do not know that. And their realm of experience is the first time they felt it. They have no idea how long it'll be or how long it will last, and if it will spread to them. They don't know. So yeah, I think a lot of young people are super anxious.
Literally had a similar meaning tattooed on my wrist. Hold on, pain ends. The hope tattoo.
Ah, beautiful.
Semicolon sun. So
Yeah,
much more in that.
Everything's a cycle, you know, and I hate to say this, but I will. It almost it's as if the depth of the pain equals the depth of the wisdom you gain from it.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
So when something shows up that seems unbearable, know that there will be a wisdom that comes along with it that will be equally deep and beneficial.
Mm-hmm. So true.
We do have an incredible connection with each other and all around the world, and I'm beginning to understand that more and more. And sometimes I'll notice that I'm in the dumps for something that makes no sense. It's like, well, I'm really feeling anxious about something. I'm really feeling down, but this circumstance that seems to have triggered it doesn't seem to be in proportion to the feeling I'm getting. And I had that the other week, and I realized it wasn't mine. I realize it now. Often it's not mine. And I spoke to a girlfriend, and she had to put one of her dogs down. And as soon as she said it, it's like, this is what it is. It's not even mine. It's hers that I was picking up on. And we hadn't even spoken. But then when we did finally speak, it was like, well, this is where it's coming from. It's not even mine. That's how connected I think we are sometimes. Sometimes when people are acting in a way that doesn't make any sense, it's not even there. You know, the logic or the emotion that they're feeling just doesn't even, it's not even theirs. They've connected with something and they haven't acknowledged where it's coming from yet.
The
Yeah.
closer we are to that person, the stronger we feel that emotion that they're projecting from.
And I think as well, I mean, this girl, because she owns the dog that I used to have, and I don't think she managed to express it to anybody. But when I finally like clicked, it's like I've got to speak to her. She knew that she could download to me because I knew her situation better than probably anybody else would have. Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that sometimes it's not even our ego that's involved, it's someone else that needs help.
Very true.
Yeah. The collective unconscious.
Yeah. Yeah. Who wants to read number 5?
Go for it, Jane.
When you feel guilty, remember that the ego has indeed violated the laws of God, but you have not. Leave the sins of the ego to me. That is what atonement is for. But until you change your mind about those whom your ego has hurt, the atonement cannot release you. While you feel guilty, your ego is in command, because only the ego can experience guilt. This need not be. Wow. I think that's really quite profound. If we could all think of that, and if I, I'll speak personally, if I could just think of anytime I'm feeling low, I'm feeling guilty, I haven't done enough, I should do more. That's part of the ego, even though it seems so big of me to want to give more, but and feel guilt because I haven't. It's not necessary.
Well, I really
should is always a trigger, isn't it? Should is like, if I'm saying should, why is that there? Let's question that. Sorry,
it always does come back down to this. But until you change your mind about those whom your ego has hurt, the atonement cannot release you. Meaning we have to see through the eyes of the Holy Spirit whoever we've hurt, including ourselves, that we then can get released. It always comes down to that one thing. It always orbits back to that one thing.
Yeah.
Looking through the eyes of it, one moment. And that is really the remedy for all of it.
Yeah.
I love how you found out about that, breaking down atonement into at-one-ment. Where did that come from, Gary? You found that somewhere. Remember? You spoke about it the other week,
no,
and it just makes so much
I
sense.
know.
You met with somebody, like you were talking with somebody, I think.
I think it was one of my clients, actually.
Was
And
it your
was it?
That almost seems like a Wayne Dyerism. He
Yeah.
was really big on taking words, like universe, one song, and he would, go on about it, or if that's up his alley, or was up his alley, wherever he is.
Wherever he is. No, I can't remember who I heard it from. I know that it's a derivative of another word. What was it? What was the word? The original word that I
Well,
said
it's
it
atonement.
was
Atonement.
atonement.
At-one-ment.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was-
That's right.
I think it was someone you were talking to, and it was like an ancient religious text that actually broke it down into.
Yeah, I can't
At-one-ment?
recall.
Hmm.
I love that.
Recordings.
We'll have to go back and watch a recording from 2-3
Yeah.
weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. But I'll always remember that now.
Yeah, that was a good one. Oh, I know who it was. It was my friend Dan. I'm pretty sure it was Dan. He's the guy who invented the desks that rise and fall so you can stand or you can sit.
I'm at one of those now. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the inventor of that. He was also the inventor of all the, I don't know, guy, if you have it in Australia, but all the big inflatable, gorillas and balloons and things like that that use car shops and stuff. He invented all those things. Like the guy.
We need anything else on 5? Any other breakdown than that?
I don't.
No, but can I read something I just found
Yeah.
about the origin of atonement?
Hmm.
It was first recorded in 1505 from the phrase at one, at un, and then in harmony plus ment. So it's a medieval Latin
Right.
term that has to do with unity. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
I was going to ask Carly to read next, but she seems to have dropped off. I don't know what happened there. Linda's back.
Yeah, where'd
Linda's-
she go? Hey, Linda,
Hello,
where
Hi,
are you,
Linda.
wild woman?
I am in the Adelaide Hills. I'm staying in a
Lovely.
beautiful little place called Shiloh Hills in Ironbank. And yeah, it's fantastic here. I'm in the bush and I've got power and I've got water and the rent is cheap and showers, toilets, everything, but everything. And I've got
Well,
my cat back. My cat disappeared. What's today? So yesterday, during the early hours of the morning sometime, because I left the windows on the cab of my van down, and she found that at some stage, so she was gone all yesterday, and she arrived back at around about 9:30 last night.
Thank God.
Oh God, you got no idea, I was so beside myself.
Was her tail between her legs?
No, she just nonchalantly walked in and demanded dinner and had a cuddle, and then, yeah, just Gracie being Gracie.
Sounds like a cat, doesn't it, Joey?
Sounds exactly like a cat.
Well, I was gonna say.
Dogs rule.
Horses
Carl-
rule, actually.
Yeah, horses do rule. I'll agree with that. Carly, would you like to read Dharma number 6?
Sure. Watch your mind for the temptations of the ego and do not be deceived by it. It offers you nothing. When you have given up this voluntary dispiriting, you will see how your mind can focus and rise above fatigue and heal. Yet you are not sufficiently vigilant against the demands of the ego to disengage yourself. This need not be. Sounds very simple, doesn't it?
Oh.
Yep. Shall I read the next one? Because it goes on to the next page. So.
Yep. Yeah, go for it.
The habit of engaging with God and his creations is easily made if you actively refuse to let your mind slip away. The problem is not one of concentration, it is the belief that no one, including yourself, is worth consistent effort. Ooh. Side with me consistently against this deception, and do not permit this shabby belief to pull you back. The disheartened are useless to themselves and to me, but only the ego can be disheartened.
Can you read that one more time, Bea?
Yeah.
I was just going to ask that actually because I can't see it, and yeah. Thank you, Gary.
What page is this on, Joe? Because you've got the actual book, haven't you?
63 and 64 for number 7.
The habit of engaging with God and his creations is easily made if you actively refuse to let your mind slip away. The problem is not one of concentration, it is the belief that no one, including yourself, is worth consistent effort. Side with me consistently against this deception, and do not permit this shabby belief to pull you back. The disheartened are useless to themselves and to me, but only the ego can be disheartened.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's about self-worth. And even not for me, it's interesting how reading this book is the ego isn't necessarily about arrogance. The ego is often about being small. It's keeping us small.
The ego is really about, the idea that separation exists and that we're alone and we're isolated and we have to protect ourselves against the outside. And seeing everyone as separate, oftentimes scary.
We need any more discussion on that one? No. Number 8, it's a nice big one. Who's going to read that one?
I'll go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Have you really considered how many opportunities you have had to gladden yourself and how many of them you have refused? There is no limit to the power of the Son of God, but he can limit the expression of his power as much as he chooses. Your mind and mine can unite in shining your ego away, releasing the strength of God into everything you think and do. Do not settle for anything less than this, and refuse to accept anything but this as your goal. Watch your mind carefully for any beliefs that hinder its accomplishment and step away from them. Judge how well you have done this by your own feelings, for this is the one right use of judgment. Judgment, like any other defense, can be used to attack, to attack or protect, to hurt or to heal. The ego should be brought to judgment and found wanting there. Without your own allegiance, protection, and love, the ego cannot exist. Let it be judged truly, and you must withdraw allegiance, protection, and love from it.
To pose a question, I mean, shouldn't the ego, instead of being brought to judgment, shouldn't the ego that's so afraid, is so fear-based, shouldn't it be loved? Shouldn't it be just swept right up and held and say, stop being so afraid, come to the bright side, get away from the dark side?
Wasn't there
I think, go
wasn't there a
ahead.
paragraph last week, I think, that said something along those lines?
It's really interesting. When we read the course, we'll go over a similar thought like every week. It still won't fully sink in until we read it over and over and discuss it again and again from different perspectives.
It's
Oh,
so
the mind,
true.
the mind is just so interesting.
Mhm. But to me, isn't the ego should be brought to judgment? It's well, if that's the case, then we're doing separation once again. We're participating in separation.
This could be metaphorical. I'm not sure yet.
Mm-hmm.
But this next line, it says, without your own allegiance, protection, and love, the ego cannot exist. That must mean our own attachment to the idea of our identities and our sense of separation. Let it be
Right.
judged truly, and you must withdraw allegiance, meaning to see through the eyes of it, one meant protection and love from it. So what I'm taking away from it is that it's not that we're judging and separating from it, is that we're attached to the idea of ourselves and others being separate from ourselves. Therefore, we withdraw our own allegiance from it and stop protecting the idea of a separate identity,
Mm-hmm.
and then and stop loving it. Stop loving the idea that I'm either greater or nicer looking or richer or one of those other things that separates us all, and withdraw my love from it and withdraw my protection and allegiance to it.
But does that pertain to wishing that you had more hair?
Probably. See, I would be in God's arms right now if it wasn't for Joe and his beautiful hair. I would not envy him.
Well, I guess in that case, I can't donate it ever again, and it's going to become super duper long, and I'll have to do like something with it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, then I'll really, really be like green. I'll be like Kermit the Frog. I think we got time for one more, maybe.
Yeah, this one looks like it's just not as long. Who wants to read it?
Is this number
Oh, I'll
9?
give it a go.
Number 9.
Or
Yeah.
when did you give it a go?
Okay. You are a mirror of truth in which God himself shines in perfect light. To the ego's dark glass, you need but say, I will not look there, because I know these images are not true. Then let the Holy One shine on you in peace, knowing that this and only this must be. His mind shone on you in your creation and brought your mind into being. His mind still shines on you and must shine through you. Your ego cannot prevent him from shining on you, but it can prevent you from letting him shine through you.
Wow, not the truth. Don't change that yet, V.
No, we'll stay on this one because this is the last one we'll squeeze in today.
Okay, I've got it. Okay. Anybody have their statements or their word?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's one for me that's been coming up almost at the end of every paragraph. No, this need not be. I get to choose.
Beautiful.
You took mine, V.
Ah, we can share it. We can share it. It's big enough for everybody.
No, I got another one I enjoyed. I wrote down. You are a mirror of truth, which God himself shines in perfect light.
Jane?
My allegiance is with my Lord and not my ego.
Carly?
It wasn't in there, but I was reminded of it. Stop shitting on yourself.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Nice.
Linda?
Continue practicing releasing the temptations of the ego.
Mine is just the last line that we read. Your ego cannot prevent him from shining on you, but it can prevent you from letting him shine through you.
Love that line.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm.
Okay, gang. Was it good for you? It was good for me. Let's have a cigarette.
I'm just going to have a cigarette now, yeah.
So inappropriate.
Oh, it's not. You're amongst friends.
That's right.
I just like to laugh a little too much. I think it's very important.
It is,
It's
absolutely.
it's so important. Did anyone I read this recently and I was struck by it. Let's see if I can remember it. I might have written it somewhere about the difference between us and elephants. Did you know that elephants hardly ever, but ever get cancer? And it's because of this genetic this gene, this protein gene. They have 20 of them and we only have one.
Wow.
And that just struck me. I don't know, it came across my perusal in the last couple of days. It was something on a show that some doctor was talking about. And then I looked it up and I started reading a little bit more. And so I don't know, just
Interesting.
like, wow.
I wish all human beings had those 20 genes.
Don't you? I know. We I think now that as we know these things, we should be doing more, right? I say we. I'm not the scientist, but
Yeah,
Can
I
put
bet
it
there's
back
more
there.
to it though. It's all, as we know, we keep saying, it's all connected, and I can see science dissecting it, and I'll just take away, oh well, let's all just inject ourselves with this protein, but it's not the whole picture. It's not the whole picture.
No, because
Right.
part of it is the incredible community that elephants live in. The love, the camaraderie, the intelligence in which they have their tribe, and human beings are suffering from an epidemic of isolation and loneliness.
Right.
And
Right.
fact-
Exactly.
huge factor in the development of cancer is that we're not valuing that connectedness. If we look at all the blue zones around the world where
I
blue
was
zones
I was
over
just going to
political
mention that.
focus,
Yes.
always about having community. So it's
Mhm.
kind of an important thing that
Right.
we develop that wherever we go. And if we don't have family, like I don't have family, I got Robert, but that's my family. Wherever he is, that's where my family is. And but other than that, I really don't have anyone. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And then I thought, well, if Robert ever dies, what would I do? And then I thought, well, I'll just create family wherever I go. I'll just create tribe wherever I go. And that will be how I will navigate that. But for all of us, I think, if we're going to look through the eyes of atonement, God is everywhere, as are we. And if we can stay in that frame of reference, there can't, like, loneliness cannot exist.
Right. Right.
Exist.
And it depends on
Yeah.
where you live too. Who would like to see where I live?
Yes.
Yes. Definitely.
Oh, that's very nice,
In the
Linda.
Isn't it?
typical Aussie bush.
Yeah. Oh, it's very
So it's
pretty.
all bush. Here's my
Sunshine.
car, my gardening car.
Oh,
And
nice.
here's my little garden that I'm starting.
Ah.
And some herbs and some tomato plants, which
You're
have
gonna-
fruit on them.
Nice.
Oh, great.
Are
Elizabeth,
the temperatures comfortable, Linda?
Oh, it's really hot. I only did 3.5 hours today. I was knackered. So
You,
I usually do
you and
5,
me-
but the humidity is really high today.
oh,
70
okay.
something.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you're right in the thick of summer.
Well, it depends, because some nights I need to put the heating on and some nights I need to put the cooling on. So it's all over the place at the moment. Well, I suspect it's the same all around the
Same.
world.
Right. Yeah.
it's all different.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, okay,
Right.
gang, I've got another client in about 10 minutes, so I've got to get on the road. You guys have an incredible night. We'll see you next week.
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.